It's a performance development review. The term work has changed a lot since your day, Evelyn.
Oh, you don't have to tell me that, lad. That's why the country's in the state it's in.
Yeah, well, whatever. If Fizz and me have had a word, it won't happen again.
Well, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but haven't you got enough women in that house already without the pocket-sized Sophia Loren dropping her drawers every 5 minutes?
It was just an honest mistake.
Oh, on whose part?
On hers?
Really? I'm a size 4, you know, under this bulky overall.
Hello and welcome to episode 140 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that thinks of the kids and show keep up this outstanding work. We're going to end up doing a podcast about a Weatherfield Hollyoaks. I'm Gavin.
And I kind of wish I never left that bathtub.
Oh, yeah.
We had a bit of snow yesterday.
A bit. And we had so much snow, in fact, that Stelly, our youngest, went out to shovel the driveway, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And when I went out at 11:30, it looked like she hadn't done it.
Right, but she had.
She had done it very well, but she had done it.
Well, she's 12.
Yeah. She's getting paid.
And then she and her friends went around and shoveled other people's driveway for free.
A driveway?
Driveways.
I think driveway's better. That should be the word now.
That should be a word.
Mm-hmm. Just like Rock the Dwayne Johnson. It should definitely be a thing. Yeah, it is supposed to get below zero this week at some point.
Yay.
In Fahrenheit, which is way below zero in centigrade. It's like minus 19 or something in old money. No, new money.
So what you're saying is I picked the right 2 weeks to quarantine.
Yeah, I wouldn't be going out very much either. I don't think. Is it still quarantine if I'm going out? Because you're potentially giving your COVID cuties to me and then I'm going out.
Right.
You might as well just go out.
Well, for most of the day, the only time I'm near you for any extended period of time is when we're sleeping. The majority of your day is spent in this office, and you don't come out very often. And when you do come out, I'm typically not around you.
Yeah, I see a shadow and I run back in.
We have maintained 6 feet.
I guess
for most of the time.
Most, but not all. And I think it requires all.
Kind of depressing, but
a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you and the kids haven't exactly been going out very often either. You've been going out to do my bidding a few times.
Yes.
And pick up a few things.
Destruction and evil, correct. A little bit of pestilence.
Pick up a few little things.
A few war crimes.
But, for the most part, I mean, before the snowstorm, I don't think Stelly had been out of the house all week.
She was in pajamas for about 5 days, I think.
Right. She was in the same pajamas for like at least half of that. We
sat down to do, she'd love us talking about this, SpongeBob. I don't think it was last week, I think it was the week before, and she was sitting where you were sitting, and I was like, you need to shower. And she was like, yeah. She caught the smell of herself, and she was like, yep, I need to shower.
Well, that was Benny yesterday. Benny came out from his room after remote schooling and gave me a hug, and I was like, and because he was giving me a hug, I was privileged with a whiff of his oxters, and yeah, I was like, dude, you need to shower. And
Before
he's like, yeah, I know.
Really winter. After school, he would go to the track and they'd run about.
Right.
And he'd come back and have a shower then. He was sensible enough to do that, but when he's not going out to run about.
No.
Yeah. The kind of sense seems to go as well.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
They're not easy to get in the shower anyway.
How's it going then?
I said.
Busy week.
self-quarantining.
So much TV to watch. You finished with Netflix now, right? You're going through the whole Netflix.
No, I still have stuff. I'm trying to work really hard because I didn't do this for the Emmys, and I feel kind of bad that I didn't do this for the Emmys because then I would have less work to do now for the Golden Globes. So I'm trying to get all of the things nominated for the Golden Globes watched, and hopefully that will give me a jump on the Oscars, which are coming in April.
You said work.
Yes.
What work?
So, some of the things that have been nominated for a Golden Globe, it's work trying to get through them.
Oh.
I still don't know whether or not I'll kiss, like a show that was universally panned on the Netflix, the Emily in Paris, which was universally panned, got nominated. Ratchet, which was almost universally panned and was weird AF and just the most confusing and bizarre things I've ever set before my eyes, got nominated. And people are like, why?
Well, don't watch them then.
Well, it's important to watch bad stuff as well as good stuff, I think. That Sia movie music, which has been getting a lot of pushback from the ADHD and learning disability community as being kind of offensive, got nominated. I haven't watched that. I don't know if I'm going to, but we'll see. We'll see. And then just a whole bunch of stuff with dudes in it, and you know what that's like. Although I have to say I did enjoy watching the trial of the Chicago 7. It was a much more enjoyable movie to watch with Sacha Baron Cohen than the Borat subsequent movie film was, which for the most part was unwatchable for me.
I don't think I got through the whole thing. I think
the beginning was kind of good,
minutes.
And the end was kind of good. The stuff in the middle was just awkward for the most part. It just doesn't work anymore. I
came to the conclusion that I didn't want to sit through the whole movie just to see Rudy Giuliani struggle with his trousers. It just wasn't worth it. So I think it was still on. I just stopped paying attention to it.
Yeah.
Anyway. Shall we preamble, my dear?
Anyway. Yes.
Give us some of that. Oh.
Award-winning?
No, because we kind of finished talking about Giuliani, didn't we? So.
Yeah, but we were talking about the fact that I'm watching stuff that's nominated for the Golden Globes.
Okay, give us some of that award-winning. Oh dear. Corey News. I have such low hopes.
Well, so do I. It was a quiet week on Lake.
I won't be getting my tuxedo pressed. Let's put it that way.
Former Corey actor Charlie Condu, who played Marcus Dent on the show, is still feeling the long-term effects of COVID, which he was diagnosed with last year. He took to Twitter to talk about the fact that he was having problems, feeling with his fingers and his thumbs and his nerve endings. But I think it's the majority of people who had COVID who are suffering from long-term effects of COVID. I think it's the exception rather than the rule that you come out of COVID and you're perfectly fine afterwards. Glenn Wallace, who is currently playing Lucas on the show, has revealed he initially auditioned to play Jed, Irish Tina's ex, a part that eventually went to ginger-haired actor Bronwell Donaghy. Can you imagine Lucas as Jed?
I've already forgotten what Lucas looks like.
Or Jed as Lucas.
Lucas.
You remember what Jed looked like?
No.
He was short and Irish.
He was Irish.
Lucas is taller than Jed and better looking and has gray hair as opposed to red hair.
Is Lucas a long-term character? I thought he was kind of in and out.
No, apparently he
But
may...
not like that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Definitely not like that.
No, there's speculation that he's sticking around. Not to spoil anything.
Why?
I wonder why. Finally, Faye Brooks has hinted that once she's done hitting the ice, she might be back hitting the street as Kate Connor, and considering all of the concerns about Johnny, it would be weird if his other surviving child didn't show up. Then again,
they handle it with a phone call. Oh, don't bother coming back.
Yeah.
If they even address it at all. And normally they don't address it.
Yeah, because there have been quite a few storylines that we've been like, geez, like with the fact that Leanne's mother doesn't come back when Oliver dies, and other members of that family don't come back when Oliver dies. Of course, we didn't really. It's COVID.
And it's also
just the show.
Uncontracted actors back for
a brief
for 2
cameo.
episodes when they're probably not interested in doing so.
No. And that's Corey News.
Our mailbag. Would you like to know about our latest 1-star review?
Oh, lay it on me. This has been a long time coming, hasn't it?
I don't know if it was a long time coming, but it was definitely coming after last week. I was just surprised we didn't get more. This is from GM in Nova Scotia. I hope it's
Canadian?
Not Chloe. I hope it's not Chloe. Yeah.
A Canadian 1-star review? Mm-hmm. Jeez, I must be losing my touch.
Oh, you think it's about you?
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. The booze and I hate that comments went on and on. So annoying. And then after the rant was over, Helen claimed the storyline she was so passionate about was in fact boring. Such a drama queen. Thanks, GM.
She's not wrong. I am a drama queen. I wouldn't be doing podcasts if I wasn't a drama queen.
Yeah, that's why the bio on my Facebook pages love the sound of my own voice. You don't do a podcast if you don't love the sound of your own voice. I don't think.
Right. Although I guess Stelly doesn't love the sound of her own voice and she does a podcast. She loves to talk, but she refuses to listen to the Squarecast, which is funny to me.
I think it's possible to be passionate about something that you find boring. I will passionately rant about how much I hate Marvel movies, and I find Marvel movies inherently boring.
Yeah.
I think you can be passionate about something that bores you.
I think you might actually like WandaVision because it's weird.
Of course I won't. You say that about everything.
I know, because
and I never like
but you know what? I say that about other things too. Like, I keep telling you that I think you'd really like Lovecraft Country and you still haven't watched it. But to be fair, I just watched The Queen's Gambit last night. So
I've got Dyson Sphere program at play, which is taking up my spare time.
I think also, I was talking because Christy, our favorite Canadian librarian, was talking about...
No offense to GM if you're also a librarian.
Oh, no. That's complete offense. I think everybody knows that Christy is our favorite Canadian librarian. Had written a couple of blog posts. One blog post, and she's going to be writing another one about the addiction story and codependency and what Corey gets right and what Corey gets wrong. And right. She and I had a long discussion about it, and about our own experiences with it and with the codependency and everything. So I think one of the reasons why I'm really passionate about it is because I see mistakes being made by characters in a TV show that I made in real life at different points in my life. And it is frustrating. And I hate seeing, I hate seeing it. And I don't think I have ever shied away from the fact that I really I'm not a fan of the Peter-Carla relationship. I never will be.
Right.
It's not a relationship that has ever appealed to me, even with this. And in fairness...
And you say this while you're wearing a Peter and Carla t-shirt.
I'm wearing my Seattle nightgown. Thank you very much.
I frequently mistake that for a Peter Carla.
The Space Needle looks exactly like Peter. So it's never going to be my favorite thing. In fairness to me, though, a lot of people...
In fairness to me... Another great thing that I said.
A lot of people have been complaining that it's boring and stupid just because we've been down this road with Peter before, the whole alcoholism thing, and it's repetitive. And that honestly, I don't mind because that is realistic. Alcoholism is a disease that never goes away. It's something that people with alcoholism fight every single day. That's why people who have been sober for years still go to AA meetings regularly. You know, that's just the fact of the matter. So I have no problem with that. And in fact, I am really pleased about that. It's the codependency and the Peter and Carla stuff that I hate and find boring. Well, I don't find it boring. Well, I find the Peter and Carla stuff boring. The codependency I don't find boring. I just hate it.
Yep.
So thanks for writing in with that 1-star review. I'm so glad that you decided to write a review about an entire podcast that's been going on for 3 seasons over something I said in 1 episode.
Oh, I think we'll get another one next week.
Drama queen indeed.
I expected that we would get some commentary, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe not threats of fisticuffs and things like that.
No.
But when you have a relationship that is a very stand relationship, I'm using the word "stan" as a verb there. Yeah, you're kind of. I went out my way to try and attract this for the whole Canna thing. I still do every time I mention that Rana was crushed, hoping that some of the Canna fans would have torn into me, but it never happened.
Yeah.
But I did hate that relationship genuinely.
Right. Yeah. Which is.
Well, no, I hated Kate.
Right. Fair enough. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why you don't get flack. And as I said to you this morning, you know, as a woman in podcasting, I think I've been rather fortunate to not have gotten very many bad reviews and complaints about being a drama queen or
That's
vocal
true.
fry.
But we're not doing serial here, so
No, it's true.
it's a bit more niche.
Right.
And now,
3 niche podcasts though, so
this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about Liberace's dishwasher.
Did this have something to do with Tim's dad?
Yeah, he was installing a dishwasher while dressed as a gay pianist. No.
To be fair,
This took me
Liberace
by
never came out
surprise.
in his life. But we all know.
Every time he went on a stage, he came out. I remember when it did come out. Was it my gran or was it my mum? Oh, what a waste of a man, she said. I was like,
That
really,
reminds
gran?
me-
Really?
That reminds me, the kids and I were watching The Prom this week. And both children were shocked that James Corden is straight in real life.
Yeah. Never mention his name again. Oh, God, I hate James Corden.
I know, he's up for a Gold Globe for that part, though.
Doesn't everybody hate James Corden? I think James Corden hates James Corden.
I think most British people hate James Corden. I think most Americans love him.
Anyway, Liberace's dishwasher. This surprised me because this was the 10,000th episode. That was last year.
What?
This was Sean's description of the inside of the 10,000th episode Fun Bus.
Oh, that's
Had
right.
the glitter ball in it. It was
Oh,
the inside
God,
of Liberace's
remember when-
dishwasher. That was
remember
the last
when-
time Sean had a good line.
Remember? Is it?
Probably.
Remember when they could do things like put lots of characters in a enclosed space for long periods of time?
A bus, no less.
Yeah.
I was Gavin and you were a little addled. I think it wasn't early in the morning. This was one that we recorded at night. This was before we started doing regular
Right.
in the morning on a Saturday. That you forgot what the NHS stood for, so you just went for national medical stuff. All because of the price of an inhaler.
Right. Yeah. It just came up in my Facebook memories. that today is the 1 year anniversary of me going into our Ready Care center, and first of all being shocked that there was a bin for clean pens and dirty pens, and my oxygen levels was so low that I had to take a breathing treatment, and tested negative for the flu and strep, and they said, oh well, it's probably just bronchitis. Here's an inhaler. Here's some meds.
Right.
Hopefully you'll get better. And I probably had COVID.
Part of me does wish that NHS did stand for National Medical Stuff. It'd be so perfect if it did. You are planning events for the Girl Scouts and the river going as far forward into the future as July.
Oh, God.
Daniel and Bethany
no.
share an awkward wave and agree it's too soon for a relationship. Tim's dad is utterly appalling and then cries when he thinks of Tim's mum. Maria looks like the scales have fallen from her eyes and she sees Gary for what he is. Nina briefly degoths. Steve and Tracy might actually love each other. And the 10,000th episode features a lot of singing in a bus. Our moment of the week was Rita and the Ghost of the Past, and our boring moment of the week was the generational argument on the fun bus, and that was Coronation Street and the Talk of the Street this time last year.
Excellent.
Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline today is...
Our last storyline today, is it?
No.
Oh.
We're going to talk about Alina Pop.
Oh, yeah.
Alina pops out. Oh. Sadly, that didn't happen. On Monday, at Fizz and Tyrone's, Alina's doing the breakfast dishes.
What do you mean, sadly?
Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
I didn't say that. There's a really long conversation, but the long and short of it is that Tyrone snores. Fizz was kept up, and Tyrone's feelings were a little hurt. And Alina thinks it's hilarious or adorable.
Solidarity, Fizz. Solidarity.
Yeah.
I kind of miss the dehumidifier fans and everything in back in Florida.
Yeah. I miss that too. Like a fucking drill next to me.
Oh!
Ty and Dev's
Lies.
grabbing some lunch, staying out of the house for a change. You honestly don't think you snore, do you?
No, I don't snore.
You do?
I don't snore. I breathe heavily sometimes.
No,
but I don't snore.
You do snore.
I do not. Not the way you do.
I admit that I snore. You snore. Ty and Dev's, it makes me want to record it sometimes just so you can hear it. Ty and Dev's grabbing some lunch, staying out the house for a change. Dev operates a Catholic corner shop. It's a confessional. Anything unhealthy that Ty gets for lunch stays within Dev's walls, so to speak.
What happens at Dev's stays at Dev's.
Ty relents to Dev's 2-for-1 Scotch egg offer, and he explains the issues that he's having at home with Alina Pop staying there, feeling like he can't have a proper scratch and how he's outnumbered 5-1 in that house. It's so bad he grabs another couple of Scotch eggs, even though it'll make him gassy.
Right. I mean, in fairness to poor Alina, he was already outnumbered 4-1. The only other male in that house is Cerberus.
Yeah, I don't think that counts because that's a dog.
Right, and has he been fixed?
I'd imagine so. Although do racing greyhounds get their nuts cut off? I'm not sure. Maybe someone in Nova Scotia can tell us. Later, Tyrone is trying out some industrial strength earplugs when Alina comes in wrapped in a towel fresh from the bath, thinking everyone was at swimming, but it turns out that Evelyn took the girls. Tyrone panics and runs out the back door, and Alina disappears upstairs, apologising to Fizz for chasing her man away. Fizz, though, grabs a bottle of Vino de Blanc and settles down on the couch, quite happy with how things have turned out. And later, when Tyrone gets back, Fizz winds him up saying Alina is continental and they're always running about in the nuddy, and soon they'll all be at it, and Tyrone looks like he wants to die. They have words with Alina, who agrees to wear Evelyn's housecoat from now on. What would Evelyn have to say about that?
Well, now, Evelyn will have to go around in just a towel.
Okay. Tyrone is in the shop buying milk. Evelyn wastes no time in winding him up about getting an eyeful of the pocket-sized Sophia Loren. Ty calls it an honest mistake, and Evelyn tells him that he already has a netball team at home. He needs to get shot of Alina, and quick. That was brilliant. So he goes to see Debbie of all people. She's in a rush, and so he asks to walk and talk with her. He has something that might interest her. And we don't find out what it is until he gets home and interrupts Fizz and Alina singing, as I think they're doing more dishes. He has great news. He's spoken to Debbie, and Alina and the other gang can move back into the salon flat as soon as they like. Alina gets ready to move right away, but Fizz tells her to stay for dinner, especially if she's the one who's making it.
Right, yeah.
That was pretty funny as well.
Right, yeah. You made it. You may as well eat it.
Right. So Alina's upstairs packing when Fizz gets turned into Tyrone. He gets embarrassed and all of a sudden he's speaking to Debbie and getting Alina alternate accommodation. Honestly, Tyrone, it's like you've got a mind of your own now or something, she scolds. And later, Alina's ready to go. Like Evelyn said, it's time she stood on her own 2 feet and got on with her life. Tyrone is shocked his gran had said anything, and just like a story that probably should never have started in the first place, Alina's stay is done.
Yes.
And that's the end of that this week.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I'm not glad that. You know, because I get Google alerts for Coronation Street. A lot of spoilery speculation crosses my eyes from time to time, and there was lots of speculation of a Tyrone and Alina affair.
Oh no!
And so I'm glad they didn't go that route. I'm glad they played it for laughs. And no.
He was always going to get an eyeful, though. That was always going to happen.
Right, but he didn't really get an eyeful. She was wearing a towel. All of her bits were covered. She's wearing more revealing things at the Rovers on Girls' Night Out with Emma.
I think as close to an eyeful as you could get at 7:30 on a Monday night or a Wednesday night.
Oh, please. I've seen boobs on TV in the UK at 7 o'clock at
night. Not
night.
on Coronation Street at 7:30 you haven't. And I don't think you'd have seen boobs before 9 o'clock on British TV.
Yeah.
Anyway.
On like a medical show.
That scene was always going to happen.
Right, yeah.
And it was funny.
And it's played for laughs.
And it's
a trope.
It was funny that his reaction was to
run out the back.
Run out of the room, yeah.
And it's nice how Fizz reacts to the whole thing. How hilarious she finds it.
Yeah. And she's just relaxing, chilling out with her wine.
Right, yeah. And
Living
enjoying
herself.
spending time with Alina, you know? It must be nice to have another woman in the house that doesn't hate you.
Evelyn doesn't hate her.
Well, no.
Hope still does, probably, but... And Ruby's 50-50.
Jade.
Ruby's still 50-50 on the whole affair. But, you know, yeah, it was funny. You know, every time I see Tyrone, literally every time I see Tyrone, because the Tyrone thing, because he has a thing, is that he wears T-shirts that have American place names on them.
Right.
And I always think I should send him an Eton Rapids shirt, or maybe just a MSU shirt.
Right.
Michigan State University.
Well, you still have the IMDb Plus, don't you? We could probably...
No, I got rid of that.
Oh. I was going to say we could probably find out who his agent is and, you know.
Just send it to the show.
Yeah, but things get lost in the shuffle when you send things to the show.
No, just send it to the show.
Yeah, it'll never get to him if you just send it to the show.
Well, now, challenge accepted.
This is how I get Gav to do everything.
Yeah. By crushing me with disbelief and untrusting. That's how you get me to do anything.
Works every time.
Yep. Care of Coronation Street. I just think it would be hilarious if he ended up wearing a Eton Rapids shirt. He would never do that. What size do you think he is? A large? It's not an extra large, I don't think, is he?
I would just go with a large.
Mm-hmm. I think it was Boston this week.
Was it? I don't even pay attention anymore unless
Boston.
It's something hilarious and random. Because some of them are random. Some of them are not. Are places you've never heard of.
Like Eton Rapids.
Right.
Yeah. The shop, I think, is open in town, so as soon as I get this done...
Down to the locker room you go.
To spend a ridiculous amount of money buying a t-shirt and postage to the US.
Yeah.
Our next storyline today. I tried to get a name for this and I couldn't think of anything, then I stopped thinking of it. It was Asha. Asha's storyline.
Asha's Not so depressing
not depressing
storyline.
and devastating storyline. This was actually, at several points throughout the story, was just adorable.
Mm-hmm.
On Monday, Aadi has been reading books by Donald Trump and Richard Branson. And already I'm in.
And he's also quoting Jeff Bezos on the week that Jeff Bezos steps down from being the CEO of Amazon. So maybe he should be quoting awful people more often.
It was just such a perfect way just to start the storyline off.
And it's very Aadi too.
Bought
it's
books
great.
by Donald Trump and Richard Branson. That's his Amazon algorithm fucked for a good 10 years anyway. He and Dev are talking about branching out into home deliveries. Dev doesn't think it's a great idea. Asha asks if Nina can come over later, but Dev is concerned that her schoolwork is going to suffer
And look,
if all her time is accounted for.
if our local gas station / convenience store is now doing deliveries, I think Dev's little corner store can do deliveries for Pete's sake. You could get quality dairy delivered to your house now.
I've just realised there's something that I meant to do last night to these notes that I didn't do last night. See if you can spot what it is. So Asha goes to Roy's Rolls to check if she needs to bring anything for her shift later. Nina is drawing some underwear designs. She worries that they're a bit frumpy. Asha says it depends who's in them. Nina is happy with the compliment over her drawings. So Asha's back at lunchtime and Nina's perusing a book of Victorian erotic etchings, which gets Nina all hot and bothered when ITV Corey comes in, demanding 5 minutes in private with Asha to talk his way back into her pants. He doesn't seem to have brought a book of Victorian erotic etchings though, so good luck with that. And he tells her that the stupid neck thing wasn't that bad, so now let's snog. Nina comes out to check on Asha in time to see her telling ITV Corey to GTF. He says that she'll regret it and mopes off, leaving Nina and Asha to cock their heads at each other and smile. Oh. Later, Asha has noticed that Nina doesn't try to upsell any of the customers and wants to try it out on the next one who comes in. She has to earn her keep behind the bar, but not like that, says Nina. Nina says, but not like that.
Mm-hmm.
That made me smile. It's a different business model.
We know she follows us.
Does she? Oh, yeah, she does. Asha gives a coin to Nina, calling it a suspended coffee, and then goes on to explain what it is, which frankly confused me. I think it's like a free coffee to be redeemed by anyone who needs it.
Right, yeah. It's like
hug and a mug.
Yeah, it's paying it forward. Yeah.
Is paying it forward exclusively a here thing and not a there thing?
It is something done.
It is done.
Yeah. It's kind of a nice thing. No, it is a nice thing. It's not kind of a nice thing.
What did I hear? This might be an urban legend. I heard about someone who was at the drive-thru and someone was honking their horn at them because they were taking so long to order. Mm-hmm. And I've been in a line where that's happened.
Yeah.
I was behind the person who was ordering and the person behind me
was honking
their horn like an asshole.
Right, yeah.
So what happened in this story was that the person drove forward to the window and said, here's my money and I'll pay for the guy behind me's as well because I've inconvenienced them.
Right.
Drove forward to the pickup window.
Right.
Got their bag and then took the guy behind them's bag as well and fucked off. So the guy goes to the payment window, learns that his stuff's been paid for, is all very happy about it and now feeling kind of a bit sheepish for honking the horn, drives up to the pickup window to find that they don't have an order and then has to drive all the way back to the end of the line again. That might be bullshit. It sounds like it might be.
That kind of sounds like an urban legend.
Yeah,
but still.
That's what I heard. So, Asha is playing for compliments as she goes through her list of failings. Stripped naked and went viral, tried to bleach herself white, and then ITV Corey. The wire brush of doubt, says Nina, quoting John O'Donoghue. Don't let it scrape from your heart all sense of yourself and your hesitant light. Don't be hesitant. So Asha doesn't, and she moves in. Thank you, Pocket Sitcom, for that noise.
Okay. Yes. She moves in. Well, it's implied she moves in. Because COVID.
Yeah. I think I quite liked what they did. I think it might have been 2 shots that they spliced together to show them kind of close, because I wasn't entirely convinced that they were getting, or maybe it's just the fact that you're not used to seeing people as close to each other as that makes it look a little bit odd. Asha's all apologetic about crossing the line, but Nina says there is no line and is about to move in for seconds when Roy comes in, appalled that Asha is working in her school uniform. But after today, he agrees to send away for Asha's very own Penny. This calls for a celebratory smoothie, says Nina, plus more smooching later, no doubt. Back home, Dev has made his vegetarian lasagna, which Asha declares is quite good. He quizzes her about her onboarding at the cafe and is surprised to hear that Roy is a chilled-out boss. Asha conceals a wee smirk as she explains how the time just flew by working with Nina. On Wednesday, Asha goes to see Nina at Roy's Rolls at lunchtime, and the pair of them are fucking adorable with each other, and they flirt badly and arrange to meet at the metaphorical community garden after Asha finishes school. Belter, says Asha's expression. In the home, she's getting herself all spruced up for meeting Nina at a bench in an urban garden, and Dev is convinced that she's seeing ITV Corey. She insists that she's dumped that guy. Well, who's the lucky fella, asks Dev. It's Nina, says Asha, all matter of fact, and Asha heads off for a waz while Dev has an emotional breakdown in his front room.
Right.
Later, he asks if Nina is her girlfriend. It's early days, says Asha. You're a lesbian now? He asks. That's so last century, says Asha. They don't have lesbians anymore? Asks Dev, who's never been so confused. Asha says that she doesn't like labels. Do you want to talk to Mary about this? Asks Dev. And Asha rhymes the things that she loves about Nina. Find me a lad like that and I'll give you a tenner, she says. She's happy, and the only sad thing is that she can't remember the last time that was true. She tells Dev that he's a great dad. Now fuck off and let me get to my date, she says. That was kind of adorable as well.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yes, it was good. I really liked the way this was handled. You know, with you know, with
so good.
Some confusion and stuff, but the way Asha is just really matter of fact about the whole thing, I thought was really well done.
It surprised me because I thought this was going to be a terrible secret that she's going to have from him.
Right.
But if anything, it was just, has she said something too soon?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Again, you know, a lot of the speculation leading up to this made me believe I was going to hate this. And I don't hate this.
I don't think there's anything that you could hate about it.
Right. Well, I'll talk about what some of my reservations were once we get to the, so what do you think about this part of our conversation?
ITV Corey comes into Roy's Rolls to apologise for yesterday, and Asha is far more forgiving than she needed to be, and I think ITV Corey leaves thinking that he still has a chance there. So Nina...
He does not.
He does not have a chance there, but I think he does.
No, I don't think he does. I think we're well done with that.
Well, if that's the case, I'm not sure what the point of it was, because they'd ended it. They'd ended it once. She'd ended it again. And he'd said, oh, you're going to regret it, sort of thing.
No,
and then they came in for a third time.
Kind of drawing a line under it and to show that Asha truly is happy now because she's not.
We'll see.
I don't know.
So Nina and Asha have their wee date thing, and Nina is keen to play this whole thing slowly, surprised but not annoyed that Asha has already told Dev, and she agrees to Asha's proposal of pizza at her place for tea. And Asha says that, well, you don't have to worry because Dev's not going to tell anybody about this. This is kind of safe between us.
Yeah, she was kind of a little, yeah. But, I mean, again, Nina is a much more mature and put together person than Asha is.
And it's not that she's embarrassed about it at all. She just could be doing without the hassle.
Right.
Working as she does in Roy's Rolls and seeing everybody.
Right.
If this was to come out.
Yeah, well, and also, rightly, she's like, well, it was just a kiss. And this is fresh waters for both of us. And this is not, you know. I'm sure you have kissed people that you didn't go on to have a relationship with afterwards. You didn't automatically think you were somebody's boyfriend just because you kissed them, did you? Especially at that age.
At that age, I've kissed 4 people. No. I'm not a very good barometer of this, I don't think.
I mean, I remember making out with...
I'm very bad at picking up signals, and I'm very bad at interpreting situations. So it's conceivable, I think, for me to kiss somebody and then think that we were going out.
Yeah. I made out with boys
Maybe not at 18, but...
after dances and things that then I never saw again. So, Rusty Greek concerts.
At 16, yeah. At 14, definitely. 14 kissing somebody, yeah, you're probably going out with them. At 16, yeah.
Yeah, and then Nina's not 16. Nina's what, 19?
Long period from 16 to... when the only relationship I had is a sentence I'm not going to finish. But
Your poor mother.
if I had to lose one hand...
Trying to do laundry in those days.
I'm not going to go into any more detail than that.
Teeny tiny toty washing machine.
No, just relax. I'm having fun with this thing.
And now I'm remembering your mother cleaning out my Wonder Woman undies again.
Got all the effect for everything here.
Oh, God. You keep this up, poor Timbot's going to be out of a job. Oh, dear. We really are friends now, aren't we? This is the show. This is now the show Friends. We talked about them enough. We are now Ross and Rachel. Pregnant pause. What is...
Anyway, so at the shop, Dev tells Aadi about Asha's latest choice in companion. So much for Dev keeping his mouth shut.
Right.
Aadi noticed his sister has been more chilled recently. Good for her, he says. So he doesn't give a shit either.
No.
Dev is worried that he's going to show Asha up at the pizza tea thing. Aadi tells him to not mention golf or his moisturising regime and to buy lots of cake. Ladies love cake.
Ladies love cake. Addie's not wrong.
So Dev goes to Roy's to get cake.
I'm more of a pie girl myself.
And
but...
blurts out that Asha's...
Enough.
So Dev goes to... Right, so that's enough of that. I'm going to unplug it. So Dev goes to Roy's to get cake and blurts out that Asha's being gay with Nina. And Roy is utterly Roy here. Asha's kissed Nina and is now gay? No, says Dev, and Roy agrees with the lack of the label thing. He advises Dev to take some pride from the fact that Asha has chosen to share something deeply personal with him and felt comfortable doing so. He should count himself fortunate. Well done, Roy.
Yeah, well, Roy was married to a transgender woman, so Roy is much more progressive than
Fairly
most
open-minded,
people
right.
on the street.
So the
And in
Alahans
real
and
life.
Nina seem to have enjoyed their pizza tea, and Dev contrives something to do with Evelyn's PDR and takes Aadi away. Dedication, says Aadi. Nothing is bigger than the game. And Nina and
That was hilarious.
Asha roll their eyes, totally seeing through what's just happened.
Is that going to get its own storyline, Evelyn's review?
I took it out of this. Well, I didn't. Yeah, I started writing
Because
it
it's
as a
so great.
separate. I wrote it as a separate storyline, and I enjoyed it as its own separate storyline because it was funny.
Yes,
But it really should have been in what we were talking about.
Yes, it really should have.
And that's what I was going to do
because it only
last
took...
night.
It was only like one episode, yeah.
Right.
Anyway.
So, your thoughts on this?
So, as I said, I had reservations about this storyline.
You did?
I had many reservations about this storyline. As I said last week, it is about time that we get some lady loving back on the street.
Yes.
We have...
I agree.
Rana's dead. Kate
Yep.
and Sophie
Yep.
gone off to gallivant around the world. Paula is God knows where.
It's a
Our one
sausage
bisexual.
party.
And yet we have 5 gay men living on the street.
Is that 5? Have you counted?
Yes. We have Billy.
Oh, we're going to go through them, right?
We have Paul. We have Sean. We we have Todd, and we have James.
Right.
5.
6 if you count Craig.
I wasn't going to get into that. But yes. So, yeah, it needed a little evening out. And quite frankly, my concern was that it would just be ticking a box sort of thing. Kind of like the fact that our complaint with the Baileys has been, they made a big deal about finally having a black family on the street, which we said, well, it's kind of tough to applaud yourself on something when it should have been done 20 years ago.
Yeah, and now do something with it.
Right, yeah. It's like there is speculation out there that Corey may get its first gay wedding this year. And while, yay, that's great, it's 2021, There are articles calling the whole Asha and Nina thing a groundbreaking lesbian teen romance. There's nothing groundbreaking about this, folks.
No. Well,
No.
Brookside did this, I don't know, 30 years ago? That was a big deal, though.
Right. Yeah. There was a time when this would be a big deal and groundbreaking. But as I said before, the movie musical The Prom, which is all about 2 teenage lesbians wanting to go to prom and not being allowed to go to prom until James Gordon sings and dances his way into it.
That would work, yes. Yeah.
And Meryl Streep and Nicole Kidman. But, it's not groundbreaking.
As long as James Corden had nothing to do with it.
Actually, he had a lot to do with it. But anyway, the less said about
What?
James Corden is good. The less said about James Corden, the better. But anyway, so I had fears that it was going to be just kind of tacked on and
Right.
ticking boxes and being a little queer baity. Because, Asha clearly does have a thing for the lads as well. We've seen it. Nina, fair enough, is an unknown quantity.
Right.
She doesn't really talk about relationships or anything at all. That's kind of not been her shtick.
Yep. Which is fine.
So, fair enough. I was concerned because while Asha is 16 now, when they met, she wasn't. And I was concerned because an awful lot of the stuff building up to this, like the drawing and, the building her up and everything, if this has always been something that was on Nina's mind back then, if Nina was a dude, there would be some accusations of grooming and being, and the age difference being inappropriate. But aside from kind of the awkwardness of that kiss, which, I really I didn't find that, I didn't really like the way that it was done. It didn't work for me on a technical basis. I find this relationship believable, lovely, and handled really well by both actresses and by the writing. I think it's been, all of my concerns about what this might have been have really just kind of gone out the window. The families have been lovely because, again, there was speculation that Dev was going to get mad and try to break them up and everything and be devastated by the fact that his daughter is now a lesbian when she is not a lesbian. That was another concern, that it was just going to be like, oh, they're lesbians now, and bi erasure happening again. So I think it's been handled really well. Everybody's been lovely. There's been at least one person on Twitter to say that they came out to their parents.
Yeah, I saw that.
Because of the storyline. And I think that's really lovely too.
Yeah, and they didn't expect it. It just happened kind of
Right.
organically, which
Yeah.
I can totally see happen.
Right. Which, with this storyline,
Yeah, I agree. I think primarily it's been acted very well, and I think Tanisha's doe eyes at Nina, she just sells that look. You know, it's, you're completely believing it,
Right.
and a little transfixed by it. She does that in awe kind of look at Nina very well, and on the other side, Molly as Nina does a really good job of being a little bit more aloof
And mature.
and not really, because when you were mentioning about the grooming thing, I think Nina's role in this has been fairly passive, although she's said a few things that could be interpreted as a come on,
Right.
but could also be just interpreted as just being regular conversation. You know,
Right.
there's been a bit of ambiguity in the language that I think Asha has picked up on.
Right.
But she's done this very cool, mature, whatever sort of thing. There's nothing that's particularly shocking as far as she's concerned.
Right.
She's not shocked about anything. And I think a character like Nina would be entirely like that.
Right. Absolutely.
Because of her upbringing and because of her life experiences, she's kind of beyond that.
Right.
So the two of them are bringing some very different dynamics to this potential relationship of this is Asha's first foray into this. You don't know if this is Nina's first or not, and she doesn't really say, but you kind of think that maybe it isn't, or maybe she has
maybe it is.
Maybe she has experience of it, maybe she doesn't, but you're not entirely sure. But she gives this aura of having either the experience of knowledge or the presence of indifference to anything that's potentially shocking.
Right. Yeah. She seems to be like, well, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
And
which isn't
fazed by it.
Right.
In the slightest.
Which is good. And, you know, at first I was kind of a little disappointed because we've had this great friendship blossom, you know, with a lot of female empowerment and stuff. And it was like, are they going to ruin this by revealing an ulterior motive for it on Nina's end? And I don't think they have. I think it's been played very well by having Asha make the first move and and Nina still, as you said, kind of being a little bit above it all, like interested, but not in a way that makes you think that this was her plan all along.
Right. She's not fallen over herself. She's kind of detaches herself from it a little bit. You know, let's see how it goes. As far as the writing's concerned, I completely agree. I think the use of the John O'Donoghue quote was totally Nina.
Absolutely.
And was, again, delivered by Molly superbly in a way that, again, could be interpreted one way, but at that point you're kind of thinking, well, maybe she does. Maybe there is a little bit. And,
you know, we've built up an awful lot of goodwill for the Alahan family.
Especially recently.
To begin with, yeah. You know, now that they seem like a more of a unit, more of a charming unit of a decent, loving family, and not Dev versus the kids every week, sort of thing. I think there's been a lot of growth for all three of them.
Right.
And yeah, I'm really digging it.
From the technical side of it, I think they probably did as much as they could, given the restrictions that are in place. I do feel that little two-shot of them was probably spliced together, and if so, fine, who cares? What I didn't really like, or what made me feel like it was a little, it wasn't not believable, but it felt just a little awkward. The taking the steps close to each other slowly was just a little awkward.
And then the aftermath, you know, when we see them again and they're talking about it, neither one of them looked like two people who had just kissed, you know, physically. They were both wearing lipstick. Neither's lipstick were smudged or anything. There was no breathlessness. There was no mussy hair. You know, the sort of things that kind of happen organically after you kiss someone wasn't there. And I mean, there's a reason why it wasn't there, but
Yeah, because they didn't kiss.
right. Yeah. But they've told us, so I think that's kind of why that didn't really.
There should be ruffled hair and maybe a shoulder strap should have been dislodged a little bit.
No, but it's just like I said, these are things that kind of happen organically after you kiss someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of hard to fake. So I don't know.
It was adorable.
It was adorable, and we loved it.
Yep,
and
I
I
look forward to
didn't
more.
think I was going to love this, and yet I do.
Yep.
So well done, Corey, for catching up to the 22nd century. Are we in the 21st century?
Oh, steady, Buck Rogers. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, no.
See, now I feel like we're actually in an episode of WandaVision. So,
Moving on to less heartwarming stories. Let's talk about Todd the Prick, shall we?
boo.
On Monday, it's Paul's day in court. Todd catches Billy and Paul in the street and offers to come along for moral support. He has a day off work. When does that prick ever do any work?
Never.
Whatever, says Paul, and he and Billy wander off, leaving Paul, like the fucking animal he is, retrieve his phone from his back pocket. He calls Will. It's on for today. That thing that they talked about is definitely on.
Yeah. See, this is something with a lot of mustache twirling.
Yeah.
Whereas there's no mustache twirling with Nina.
No. We missed the hearing.
Metaphorically.
We missed the hearing. The judge is apparently thinking about it in his chambers, but not like that.
Her
Todd-
chambers.
Yeah,
The judge is a woman.
it is the
It's
22nd
a woman.
century. Todd checks to make sure that they're in place.
Although we don't know what her pronouns are, so her pronouns may be he, him.
And gives Will
So
a
never
call.
mind.
Who as ever is lingering in the shadows dressed in black. The plan seems to be for Will to break into their flat. Back at the court, after a major amount of rigmarole and blah blah blah, the judge lets Paul off with a 12-month community order, 130 hours of unpaid work and 20 hours of anger management. For their being there for moral support, Todd spends roughly 5 seconds in their company in the courtroom, and then they all go off for a drink.
Right. And the whole thing with the judge, it was like, well, I understand this. You're very bad because of this. And well, this makes sense. I don't know if you're allowed to be around human beings anymore. And, the whole back and forth was a bit.
You punched an innocent man in the face.
But you thought he wasn't an innocent man.
I sentence you to death.
There was an awful lot of build-up for 12 months of anger management classes.
20 hours. Meanwhile, Will has broken into the flat by touching the front door with a crowbar and showing the lock a screwdriver. He knocks things over and pours pop on the sofa. What an animal.
It was beer, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know. Mary
Yeah.
is outside the florist doing the iconic Prince Charming dance because Mary. Summer is home early for COVID study time or something and goes upstairs to see Will battering fuck out of the old piano. And that's what you get for playing fucking chopsticks, says Will. No, he doesn't. She runs away while
It's
Will...
Row Your Boat that they were complaining about Summer playing over and over again, wasn't it?
It's London Bridge.
Ah.
So she runs away while Will calmly assesses the room. Soggy sofa, check. Knocked over table, check. Took a shit in the fridge, check. Summer gets down to the street and is hit by a car while Paul, Billy and Todd are wandering home talking about puppies, and they see Summer on the ground and Will standing at the front door.
Dum dum dum.
We used to have a caravan in Kirkfield Bank near Lanark in Scotland, which is the caravan park which features in part 4 of my novel The Scottish Book of the Dead, which is still available through Amazon.
Wasn't it also in Trainspotting?
A caravan park?
Yeah.
No. No. And someone broke into the caravan and they did create a mess and took a shit in the fridge. And the police said, this happens more often than you'd think. The adrenaline of burglarizing someplace does get you part of your fight or flight. If it turns out it's fight, flight, or shite, is
Well, that makes sense. Monkeys throwing their shit at people.
Yeah, but why specifically in a fridge? I'm not sure.
Yeah, how would you even?
Not that Will did that.
How would you even?
That didn't happen.
That would be a very awkward squat. Or would you
It was a
poop and then
caravan.
pick it up
No.
and then put it in the fridge?
It was a little caravan fridge. It wasn't a big,
Well,
stack.
still,
It was
that seems even worse.
like a little man cave fridge, a little beer fridge.
Yeah, you'd have to squat even lower.
They dragged it out, put it in the middle of the living room, opened it up, and shat in it
Oh, so they turned it over.
like it was a.
Oh, okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So anyway, where did we get to? Yeah, Will's standing at the front door. Later, the ambulance and PC Tinker is there. Paul, Todd and Billy all saw Will, but no one identifies him, and then Billy goes off with someone in the ambulance. And not even at this does Todd show much in the way of regret here. At the hospital, Paul seems to have noticed that it was obviously Will, but before he can say anything, Todd comes along. He's got Ed to have a look at the doors, and then they're off to see how Summer's doing. She has concussion and a sprained wrist, and that's the verdict, and she'll be getting kept in overnight. They head off home to get her a bag, and Todd refuses to give Paul and Billy more than a minute's peace, even though Paul has something he wants to talk to Billy about. Todd calls Will and says that they need to meet. Todd has another job for Will because this one was a literal car crash, and Todd needs his prints over this. So that's all that really Todd's really caring about here is...
Making this go away.
Yeah, detach themselves from it. Paul and Billy are back home surveying the damage with PC Tinker. Who would do this, asks Billy. Why would you do this? Opportunity, suggests PC Tinker. What, a flat above a shop with only one way in or out? Archdeacon Billy seemingly has a better idea of investigation than PC Tinker, who changes the subject and asks what's been taken. Nothing, they decide. And Paul knows who did it. It were Will what did it as revenge, and Billy looks fucking furious that Paul and Will are still in touch when he knows damn well that Will is constantly calling Paul and overheard the conversation that they had the other day where Paul told him to fuck off.
Right, yeah. Okay, so I guess I kind of get Billy's irrational feeling because Summer has been hurt. I can kind of understand like Billy's irrationality, because it is irrational for him to be this upset at Paul for this. I can understand the initial anger. I am surprised that nobody before the whole, it was Will thing, not PC Tinker, nor Billy the gay priest or vicar.
He's an
Archdeacon now.
Show him respect.
And Paul, none of them say, I wonder if it's because we're gay.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if this is a hate crime. I bet this is a hate crime because somebody is mad that I'm a gay archdeacon. Mm-hmm. That the archdeaconhood went to a gay man, right. Sort of thing. Because this is the sort of thing that somebody who's angry that their archdeacon is gay would do.
The question that flashed across my brain there was, but would they take a shit in his fridge? But that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
This is going to be like the Shaq Sinbad movie. It's going to be a movie that everybody believes happened and has fond memories of watching that doesn't exist.
Right.
It's the Berenstain Bears all over again, isn't it?
So despite this, Billy overreacts, blaming Paul for all this, leading Will to their house, which Paul insists didn't happen. But to keep the gods of plot appeased, Billy continues to be disgusted with Paul and storms off to take pyjamas to Summer, leaving Paul to clean up that shite in the fridge. That isn't there. It isn't there.
And also, again, I'm surprised that nothing more is made of the fact that how does Will know where they live? Because Paul rightly says, how does he know where we live? I never told him where I lived. Mm-hmm. And nobody stops to think, well, yeah, how did he find out? This is weird. Because everybody's just, Billy over the top.
If Billy
on the street
hadn't heard Paul say to Will to fuck off, or if Paul hadn't said it, then I think Billy's reaction is fine. But Billy did hear it. So how many times do you have to tell someone to fuck off? And then when they don't do it, it's still Paul's fault.
Well, as Billy points out, from the very beginning, Paul should have not, Paul did things in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Todd meets Will in a darkened ginnel and berates him for what happened. Will doesn't really give a fuck about this. He did his job and the vicar will be blaming Paul, so pay up. Todd literally throws 50 quid at him and tells him to delete the messages from his burner phone and just get rid of it. Todd leaves and Will seems to just throw the phone in a random bin and wander off himself. On Wednesday, Billy
And I thought more was going to be made of that murder phone.
Mm-hmm. Billy's still in a foul mood with Paul and doesn't appear to care when Paul points out that he was there when Paul cut all ties with Will and doesn't want Paul anywhere near Summer, and maybe I could say Paul for a 5th time in the one sentence. Billy goes off for a shower. And later,
lots of bathing this week.
Yeah, I noticed it.
We've already talked about 2 of them.
Yeah. And later, just to add shite to Paul's sandwich, Todd shows up and he quizzes Paul, who admits that it were Will
in the refrigerator
what broke into the flat. Paul's busy tidying, so tries to get Todd to fuck off, but Todd points out that he'll lose his job if he doesn't get his arse to work. All pig's tits, says Paul, and he grabs his coat.
Right, yeah. Says Todd, who's never at work.
Never at work, right. So Paul comes home at lunchtime. Summer's home and clearly fine and not exactly worth an ounce of anyone's concern here. She and Paul have some friendly banter which sickens Billy, who leaves him to it. Summer's worried that something is up, but Paul plays it down. And then Billy complains to Todd about Paul, cursing him for bringing Will into their lives like this. He'd never do anything like that, says the guy who left Peter's sister for dead at the scene of a car accident. Todd points out that Billy's saintliness is sometimes hard to live up to, and that he should.
And then also
speak to
kind
Paul.
of abandoned Summer multiple times when he was addicted to painkillers. Because remember, Billy was addicted to painkillers.
Yep. So Billy goes home. He loves Paul, but Summer is his priority, and Paul has involved her in this whole Will thing. Love is just a word, says the Archdeacon, that means nothing. Paul says surely Billy understands how his childhood made him jump off the deep end here, but smug Billy now thinks that Paul is a liability.
Further evidence that none of these writers have ever picked up a Bible.
I'm just kind of worried about how Billy came across in his interview to become the Archdeacon. He says, well, you know, I don't think love really is anything. It means nothing.
Right.
You got the job.
What about God is love there?
But, right, so Billy thinks that Paul is a liability. He can't do this anymore, so Paul punches a hole in the cupboard door while smug Billy shakes his head smugly.
A very thin cupboard.
Right.
Who's doing the crappy job of installing? It was paper thin. That.
What happened to forgiveness, asks Paul. Doesn't work like that, says smug Billy. And Paul realises
it does work like that,
there's no
though.
way back for them now. Todd watches from across the street as Paul leaves, chased by Summer, who says that she loves him and doesn't want him to leave. But Billy needs space for him and that fucking enormous high horse that he's on at the moment, says Paul. And Paul walks off as Summer goes back inside, and Paul doesn't notice that his jacket slips off his suitcase and falls to the cobbles.
That almost happened to me in the airport.
Yeah, that happens.
Because I had 2. I had
The world's an imperfect place.
jean jacket and my hoodie.
Summer is pissed at Billy when Todd comes back with Paul's coat, pretending not to know what's going on. When he finds out, Todd is about to leave, but Billy asks him to stay and listen to him moan about feeling lost and reckoning this relationship malarkey is too painful and maybe he's better staying off his hole for good now. Paul's heading for the Rovers and sees Todd pick up a delivery from outside Billy's, and Paul gives Todd a Paddington stare like he's finally sussed out that he's being played here, but sadly that's not the case.
Or a Mary stare.
Yeah. Back upstairs, Billy wants to get smashed and put the world to rights. Todd takes a rain check, warning Billy that drinking isn't going to make him feel better. Billy's faith in Todd has been restored, and he absolutely means it. What a prick.
Oh, God.
So,
seriously, it's like... Really?
Step aside, Daniel. There's a new prick in town, and his name is Billy.
What about Todd?
I actually
Daniel's not a prick. He's just boring.
Right. I think I hate Billy more than I hate Todd at the moment. He's so sanctimonious.
It does not shed him or the religion he stands for in a very good light.
Or archdeacons, or the selection process.
That's kind of what I meant.
Todd returns Paul's jacket to him in the Rovers. It's my lucky day, says Paul sarcastically. Todd tries the whole sobriety advice thing with Paul, but Paul isn't interested. He's not even close to being interested. What eats him up the most is that he could have avoided all this and he'd still have the love of his life, Summer, and the best place that he's ever lived. This is all on him. Todd doesn't think it's that simple. Paul thinks Todd has changed for the better and aims to do the same. Todd doesn't know about that and says that he's not responsible for what happened. Then who is? Asks Paul.
Yeah, but Todd says that Paul is not responsible for what happened.
That was badly written. You're
Yes.
right. You're right to point that out.
Thank you.
To a few hundred people. On Friday, Paul's at Roy's Rolls.
Just to you.
He slept at Chesney's, it seems. He's really missing Billy, and while Bernie is sympathetic, she advises him that the real focus here should be on Summer, and she tells him not to forget that.
Which was excellent advice.
It had to happen sooner or later, right?
A broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly. Summer and Billy are chatting about juvenile podcasts about climate change and damp-proofing 6 vicarages, but not like that. When Paul comes in, I have no idea. He has a surprise for Summer, and it's a Casio keyboard that's not even been nicked or anything. Summer is made up, and Paul drops off his key and picks up the last of his clothes despite Summer's offer to stay and listen to her play London Bridge again. Paul asks if it's okay if he still takes Summer out once in a while, but Billy's unsure because he's a prick. And later, at Maxine's bench, Billy and his man bag apologises for earlier. He's okay after all about seeing Summer.
He apologizes to the bench.
Right. Was that badly written?
He didn't mention the fact that Paul was there. Meanwhile, at the bench,
Right.
Billy apologizes with his man bag.
Well,
So is the man bag the one who has offended the bench, or is it Billy?
the shite from the fridge is in Billy's man bag, which he then smears all over the bench. Then Billy and his man bag head off to an important meeting to talk about all the new goings-on in religion these days.
Right.
And
While Paul and the bench look at one another and shake their heads.
Right.
And
that's as
stomp
far as
their
we get with
feet.
that.
Obviously, Billy and Paul will get back together, yes? Something is going to happen with that phone. Somebody's going to find that burner phone. Will out at some point. Yes, that's going to happen.
Sure.
It's got to, right?
I hope so.
It's got to. So,
Moving on. Oh, not moving on?
no. I mean, yeah. So, Will out eventually, and then Billy will be contrite. Paul deserves better.
Yeah, I don't think I want Paul and Billy to get back together again now. I think Billy's burned his bridges there
Yeah.
just by being such a prick.
But he hasn't, and they'll get back together. You know they will. He's not going to get together with Todd, is he? That would be awful.
I would. Paul's liver. Paul's liver?
Peter's liver.
Peter's liver.
With some fava beans and a nice
Chianti.
Chianti.
On Monday, Ken is glad that Carla has reconciled with Peter, but has reservations considering how much of a fucking car crash they'd been forever.
Right.
She insists those
Thank
days
you,
are
Ken.
behind them. At which point, in comes Peter, who's feeling much better, thank you very much, and they talk about what to get up to on their day off, and Ken refuses to shut the fuck up about stately homes, so they end up agreeing to do that. Jesus, Ken.
Seriously. Yeah. One look at Carla and Peter, and you think, there's a couple who would enjoy walking through a stately home.
Right. Yeah. Well, one of them shivers uncontrollably.
Right.
We miss these stately home hijinks. Peter and Carla get back to the street and Peter looks like he's struggling a bit. They do a reasonable impression of being a normal couple until Peter suggests a pub lunch at the Rovers. He insists he'll be fine and Carla is already bottling up what she thinks about stuff, so that bodes well. Back at the pub, it's unclear if the flashing lights of the fruit machine, the half-empty pint glasses scattered around, the smell of the beer mats, or Jenny havering on about the lyrics from Should I Stay or Should I Go? But Peter can't handle this and rushes out. Carla
Jenny
hot on
has a
his
thing
heels.
about song lyrics, doesn't she? This is not the first time she's complained about song lyrics on the
Jenny.
show. Jenny. Mm-hmm. I said Jenny.
I thought you said Debbie. I'm pretty sure you said Debbie.
I said Jenny.
Back home, I'm not sure what you said there. Back home, Peter's clammy and shivering. Carl's about to get on the
I don't
phone
like that.
to the alcohol liaison nurse, which is a thing, I guess, when Peter reveals that Ken found it awkward watching Peter drink his medicinal,
They've got a nurse for everything.
so has been leaving the room, and Peter has been pouring it down the sink. So he's already lying too. Great stuff. Peter explains how he's feeling, how he was told 7 years ago that another drink could kill him, and now he's expected to ignore all that. He can't do it. He can't trust himself to do it. Carla looks initially confused and then realises it's because Peter has just been honest to her. She goes to get the Roy whiskey and tells him that he either takes it or she leaves. And later, Peter is literally rattling as he stares at a small sniff of whiskey and a tumbler on the table. Carla encourages him to drink it, but he thinks he's standing on the edge of a cliff and she's telling him to jump. Eventually, he downs it. 50 mils, she says, and you won't ever have to drink that much again. But it's no good. Peter isn't coping, and he asks her to take him to hospital, which presumably she does. And that's all that happens in that this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so little that for a brief moment I forgot that we had any Peter Carla stuff.
The only thing that stuck in my mind about it was that they were back together, and they were almost immediately dishonest to each other again.
Right.
And then they seemed to work it out.
Right.
Again.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. It seemed a bit better as far as codependency and stuff is concerned. It's kind of ridiculous, the whole Ken leaving the room and not watching Peter drink, because you knew this was going to happen. They was just going to pour it down. This whole, you have to drink a little bit every day,
This is definitely a thing. I have some experience of this that I don't want to talk about.
Okay.
So,
in my experience with alcoholics, this has never been a thing. So I don't know if that's just American medical being different from British medical, but it's because with the alcoholics I know, a little, having just a little dram
it's not enough.
was never going to be enough, and so they would go out and right.
Yeah, that is kind of
It's kind of the opposite, with the pills that if you drink it will make you very sick,
right?
Sort of thing, which was awful because then you couldn't have things like mustard or anything vinegar based.
Huh.
And if you'd accidentally, weren't thinking about it and had like barbecue or something, you could get sick.
Our next storyline today is eventually Evelyn's review. On Wednesday, it's Evelyn's turn for a PDR, which turns out to be all part of Aadi's GCSE in business studies. Evelyn thinks that he's talking about a TripAdvisor review.
Right, yeah.
So
she doesn't understand what sort of review he's talking about, which was hilarious.
So Dave has to explain, privately warning Aadi not to wind her up.
She's already wound up.
Later, she's permanently wound up. Later, Aadi is observing Evelyn stacking biscuits, making some suggestions on how to improve. Evelyn calls him a slack-jawed spaniel and tells him to make himself useful and put the kettle on. Aadi asks, no, there's a point where she says, how many more stupid questions do you have? And apparently he's got 4 questions.
Right.
What's the greatest achievement this year? She says, not punching people in the face when they ask for non-gluten bread. What can she improve upon? This shitty job. What challenges do you face? The customers. Where do you see yourself in a year's time? In an establishment for the criminally insane. And with that, Evelyn fucks off for a drink, telling Aadi he needs to get out more. And that's all that happened.
Yeah, she still doesn't seem to understand exactly what this is for. No. But she's hilarious because, with the whole customer thing, she says something about people coming in like their dressing gowns and curlers in their hair and stuff. Something that doesn't really happen on the street very often anymore.
No.
It used to happen quite a lot back in the day on the street that people would permanently have their hair in curlers.
I remember when that started to become a thing, and it was when they opened up the Tesco in Falkirk to make it 24 hours. The Tesco in Falkirk, which also makes it into the Scottish Book of the Dead, but not train spotting. That you'd see people wandering about in their jammies. They'd go out in their jammies and a house coat to Tesco. Yeah. What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, and now people do it 24/7 at the Walmart.
Right.
But nobody walks around with their hair in the curlers anymore.
No,
that is no longer a thing.
No longer a thing.
No.
That was brilliant. And again, just the development of Aadi's character now.
Yes.
To being a little bit of a comic genius and
right. Yeah, no, he's got really good comic timing.
Oh, it's brilliant.
He's a brilliant wee actor.
So when you end up with him
and Evelyn
and Dev in a 3-hander.
Right. Well, I mean, comic genius and legend Maureen Lipman.
Yep.
And this 17, 18-year-old kid playing 16-year-old kid.
Yep.
That's just what an education he's getting there.
You've got to think so, right?
And he's holding his own with her.
Oh yeah, the two of them are brilliant.
And you could tell they're both enjoying this. He's got a long career ahead of him, that kid.
When Death tells him not to wind her up. It's fucking hell, just so good. Our next storyline, Johnny on the inside. On Wednesday, Daisy's up at the crack of noon looking for dining recommendations in the Northern Quarter, but Jenny's too worried about Johnny in jail and an assessment that he has coming up.
Johnny in jail.
Daisy is so over Johnny being in jail and has trouble masking it, but Jenny doesn't notice. She tries to get Jenny to go with her, but Jenny's not in the mood, so they settle on the bistro later. Wowzers. And the bistro...
Because Daisy can't pay for any food.
Right. Jenny wants to talk about Johnny, but Daisy's still not interested and is more keen to point out that the bloke at the table behind them is hot and appears to be into Jenny. Jenny giggles and plays with her hair a bit.
Appears to be into the back of Jenny's head.
Right?
Like, how much of Jenny is this guy getting an eyeful of?
She's looking at Daisy. He's looking at Daisy.
Right. He's absolutely looking at Daisy.
Afterwards, and after calling Johnny a fucking loser, Daisy goes to the bloke and gets his number for Jenny.
Boo.
On Friday, Daisy is still going on about the bloke from the bistro the other night and wants to go out again tonight, but Jenny isn't interested, calling Daisy a bad influence. And besides, she's off to see Johnny today, which is more important to her. And Daisy sighs. Why does Daisy care about this? She's just so got it in for Johnny.
It's not Johnny, it's Jenny. Because remember how pissed she was that Emma was moving in and how much she fought against Alina Pup moving in.
She wants Jenny for herself? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think... I don't know why. I think part of it may be that Jenny is more easily manipulated when Daisy has her all to herself.
Right. Daisy's not a nice person, right?
No, Daisy's not a nice person.
Meanwhile, Johnny has seen the prison doctor in a cell with a desk in it. Johnny's eyesight will hopefully get better in the next few weeks, but there's more serious news other than being blind. His MRI has shown a new lesion on his brain, and a bestubbled Johnny nods knowingly. And later, Jenny goes to visit Johnny and hears his bad news about the lesion thing. He's not going to be the same man coming out of prison as he was going in. Things are getting worse, and they need to be prepared for that. So Rita's in the Rovers asking how Jenny's doing, and Daisy doesn't miss an opportunity to badmouth Johnny. And Rita, who attended the wedding of Johnny and Jenny from her hospital bed, gets Daisy telt.
Right.
Then Jenny comes in and is too upset to talk to them. But later...
Well done, Rita.
Yeah. She takes no prisoners.
Rita really has Daisy's number, and I'm here for it.
Yep. And later, Jenny fills in Rita. She doesn't know what to do if Johnny's MS is worse. Do they move? Do they get a lift installed? Do you just leave him? Says Daisy. And Jenny and Rita both jump down her throat. Joking, says Daisy, who totally wasn't joking.
Kidding.
When it's just Rita and Jenny, Jenny says that she's worried for the future, that there will be no her left, it'll be all him, and then he'll die, and then what does she do? Rita looks like she might break into song, but instead she tells a story about Ted, not Gail's Ted, who she would have walked away from, or who she could have walked away from rather, as he had a brain tumour. But she's followed her heart and married him for a few months, and Jenny worries that she's overthinking it, and also that she might be a horrible person. Still don't know where they're going with this Johnny thing.
Is he leaving the show?
Well, he's going to be in jail for the next few months.
Right. And, you know, this whole new lesion on his brain does not bode well.
It does not bode well at all, no.
I think the show is doing a very excellent job, though, because there's speculation on him and Peter, and nobody has said really anything confirming either one of them leaving the show or staying on the show, you know. Everybody else, you've kind of heard articles about them signing new contracts and stuff.
I think it would be shocking if Peter was to leave. If Peter was to die, that would be a shocking moment. That's a major character. That's a Sean Bean getting his head cut off at the end of season 1 of Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Because, you know, Sean Bean's character at least wasn't an alcoholic.
Well, he probably was.
Everybody on that show was. But, I don't know.
It's killing a major character. You can't say that Peter's a minor character. No. They've killed off major characters before, though. Yeah, and it tends to be shocking.
Right.
God, we caught a surprise when they shot Robert. And Robert wasn't really, I would describe as a foundation stone of Coronation Street.
Yeah.
No offence, Robert.
What would really be who never got a funeral?
No, still waiting for somebody to claim that body. It's in a fridge that Will's taking a shit in.
Well, it would be really shocking if 2 major characters died.
Yeah, I don't think they do 2. Or maybe they will do 2. Maybe that will be the...
Imagine if they did...
I don't think Johnny's ready for death, but he's...
Imagine if they did 3.
Are we going back to the everyone dies portion of this podcast from our early days in 2019?
Oh, with the everybody dying in the factory
collapse. Yep.
Collapse, yes. Which, in fairness, more than one person should have been permanently maimed by that.
Oh, yeah. Our next storyline, is this our penultimate? I think it is. Yep. Our penultimate storyline today is, whose motorcycle is this? It's not a motorcycle, baby. It's a chopper. Whose chopper is this? Ted's. Who's Ted? Ted's dead, baby. Ted's dead.
Well,
On Friday.
that was longer than it needed to be.
It was originally just called Ted's Dead, but then I got carried away. On
Obviously.
Friday, David, who doesn't work at the factory, is at the factory trying to scrounge some free childcare for Gail, but she has plans with the undertaker, so get it right up you. David is not impressed that she'd rather go look up some family records and look after his pig and kids. And Nick isn't pleased, calling this a members-only club or something.
I love this. I love the whole, the fact that we have kind of in a way broken the fourth wall with finally somebody on the show saying, wait a second, why are all these people who don't work here?
Right. And later he's even more pissed off when Audrey, who also doesn't work at the factory, is at the factory chatting to Gail about recipes. She starts talking about researching her dad, Ted's side of the family, who she suspects were better to do than the other side. And this pisses off Audrey, who thinks that Gail is calling her common. Are you calling me common, Gail? No. And then she doesn't let it go. No, really, are you calling me common? Then Gail gets a call from that London. David and Tracy are arguing in the street about buying number 8. Gail comes along and thinks that this is uncouth. She cares about her family. She's always been a family first person.
Wait, how is this a penultimate storyline? Because there's at least 2 more storylines.
Tracy recalls that David pushed Gail down the stairs one time. David tells Gail to shut up. David tells Gail to shut up.
I know. He tells his mother to shut up. But you know what? You know what he should have done?
What?
With the whole, didn't you push your mom down the stairs? She says what he should have said to Tracy is, yeah, well, your brother pushed your dad down the stairs, so it's not just my family that's fucked up there, Tracy.
Right.
If that is your real name, who will kill again.
Gail has been trying to tell them some bad news that she's received, but instead she wanders off in a huff.
Right, yes, because David has told her to shut up when she's trying to tell him bad news.
Back at the factory, Gail is still feeling morose at David's comments from earlier. She fucks everything up sooner or later, she says. She tells Nick about her bad news that she's got about his granddad. Oh, I haven't thought about granddad in a while. How is he?
He's dead.
No one knows what was wrong, but Gail is going to go to that London today to pay her respects.
And I was surprised at this. I was like, oh, here's an excellent opportunity for them to finally kill somebody off with the COVID. Because nobody...
No, they don't know.
No character has gotten sick with the COVID. COVID is obviously a thing. Mm-hmm. Somebody on that street should have caught it by now, especially with all the masks on and off and stuff. He could have very easily said, your grandfather died of the COVID, because that's...
Right. Or COVID-related complications.
Right, yes.
Gail calls herself a terrible daughter and a terrible mother. Yeah, and you're a terrible cleaner too, says Nick.
With a smile on his face.
Yeah, and they all laugh. Then Debbie goes to see her new BFF, Aadi. To show that the bistro is now a safe space, she's throwing a ladies-only night during the day, so spread the word. Aadi asks about the whole David and Tracy situation, which is the next thing on Debbie's list to take care of. Mm-hmm. Nick goes to see David to tell him about Ted and give him a row about how he's spoken to his mother. David doesn't really care, but supposes he'll go and speak to Gail about it. Nick tells him that he can't because Gail's going to that London, and David seems to think it inappropriate that she attends her own dad's funeral. David concedes that as far as gay granddads go, Ted was a good one. The best, says Nick.
The best gay granddad ever, who we hardly ever saw. And,
he was in it, I think, for a while.
Yeah.
But we never saw him.
Right, and even Gail says that she's... that she was talking to her father's partner and saying that she never met her father's partner.
No.
Which is a bit shocking. I've met all of my dad's wives.
Not the one time. Oh, God, there'd be a room.
Oh, God, yeah.
Your mother wouldn't go. Tracy catches Mary locking up the flower shop and mocks her when she sees that she's wearing makeup.
My mother has invited all except for one of these women into her home to spend time in her home during the holidays.
Yeah, but they'd have strength in numbers together.
all but the one that Dad left her for, who we still spit when we speak her name.
Mary calls her Jimmy Carr without the warmth. She explains about the ladies' night during the day thing at the bistro. Tracy asks if she can come. Only if you identify as a woman, says Mary. I am a woman, says Tracy. I believe you, says Mary. Tracy thinks that she's more of a woman, in fact, because she was a lesbian for a while and slept with a woman, unlike Mary. Mary then goes on to explain about her Sappho adventures in Muff, Donegal. In summary, she was wearing ski pants. It got to 12 o'clock, and she realised that she was wearing very little else. Whatever the story, it makes Mary trot like a pony, while David and Tracy badger each other about buying number 8. Tracy says that she's going to offer Debbie cash for number 8 at this ladies' night during the day thing.
It seems like not a very successful evening then, as she was still wearing pants.
Ski pants.
Yeah, which go over your regular pants. So they're big and they're thick and they're bulky. So if you're wearing them, the night hasn't really gone very well.
Well, that's just the start of it. That was the start of it. At the bistro, Tracy has some flowers to sweeten Debbie up.
It was nice of Tracy to remember that she was once bisexual.
At the bistro, Tracy has some flowers to sweeten Debbie up as Mary tells a story about meeting Jan Leeming in a cemetery as a kid, twice. In comes David.
In front of a crematorium.
And Tracy is appalled until Mary tells her to be careful, as David might identify as a woman. In comes Debbie, and David doesn't have the funds yet, but he's working on it. Debbie isn't known for her patience and has decided that he's had enough time, and the house will be auctioned tomorrow to the highest bidder. And Tracy's pretty happy about this. Fine, says David, and he leaves, and that's as far as we get with that.
Monday's going to be interesting.
I imagine that Tracy's going to get her hands on number 8. That's what I imagine is going to happen. Because I think they've been... What I've quite liked about this, and I said this last week, so I won't beat it to death, but I like how not everything's gone back to normal just because the skyscraper's not happening. I like that they've taken an opportunity to mix things up a little bit. So I'd quite like to see number 8 in Tracy's hands.
That's not going to happen.
You don't think so?
No. I don't think it's going to end up in David's hands either.
Oh, that would be even more interesting.
I think there's a reason why this is going to be auctioned off and open to the general public. It's not just going to be David and Tracy at this auction.
Obviously, right.
So,
who else is looking for a house? Oh, is this going to be your thingamabob? This guy, whose name I can't even remember. He's not going to be moving back, is he?
I have no idea who you're talking about.
The Irish chap.
Lucas?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Maybe. I mean, his company is opening a storefront in the area.
So he said.
Yeah.
But he says lots of things.
I don't know.
Our final storyline today. On your bike, Simon.
Ugh.
On Monday, Leanna's on the phone with the Leica company. Simon catches her and she tries to cover, but she's fallen behind on her bills. Simon suggests getting in touch with Nick about it, seeing as Leanna isn't working, which makes perfect sense, but she isn't interested in perfect sense and insists that Nick doesn't find out about this. Outside for your fries only, Simon is chatting with his co-worker Clayton with a facelift. I think his name is Jacob.
Yes.
Simon's explaining that he has some money worries at the moment, so the co-worker lends him 60 quid. That's what mates are for, says this bloke we've never seen before. And yes, his name's Jacob. Yes. He and Simon are chatting later when Kelly the Chin wanders along, and Jacob hightails it when he sees her, and it seems that there's some secret history between the two of them, though Kelly's quick to deny it. It looks like she and Simon are talking again. He's bragging about his ability to skive off work. #goals, says Kelly. But it turns out that she's still a bit icy towards him because of him standing her up that time. His entire family was collapsing around his ears.
Right, yeah.
Leanne's busy napping on the couch when Simon gets home with a bag of messages and treats, and he's sorted out a prepayment meter with the Leica company, so everything's sorted.
Wouldn't treats be part of the messages?
Yes, he separates it. Oh. Leanne graciously agrees to put the groceries away while Simon goes back to work on a promise of a free bag of chips and remnants at the end of the night. On Wednesday, Simon has made Leanne breakfast and is doing his best to tidy the flat, asking her to maybe do a spot of hoovering later. She hasn't slept and doesn't fancy housework and isn't hungry. Losing a kid can play havoc on your appetite, you know, she says, and then she mumbles an apology and goes back to bed. Simon's day goes from bad to worse when he's late getting to school because of all the adulting that he's been doing at home, and then when he gets to the chippy, some prick nicks his bike. He's going to lose his job, and he needs this job delivering chippy teas to support him and his mum. I don't know how much this pays, but it must be pretty decent. Jacob might have the answer to his problems. Leave it to me, he says, and he gives Simon a loan of his brother's bike. And later, Simon bumps into Kelly the chin again, who reveals what the issue is with Jacob. Sorry to piss on this bromance, she says, but Jacob's bad news. He did time for stabbing someone, and word on the street is it was about drugs. Simon appreciates the concern, but says he can look after himself. On Friday, Simon is off to college and then work, but he'll come home at lunch to make Leanne something to eat. She calls him the man of the house, impressed that he's been pulling his tripe out recently. He's just looking forward, but not like that. He's just looking forward to Nick coming back and there being some money in the house again, and Leanne looks a bit pensive about this.
Yeah, that's a really unfortunate turn of
pulling
phrase.
His tripe out, yeah.
Isn't it?
At the chippy, Jacob has a suggestion for Simon, a little side gig that Simon could earn some extra cash from, and better still, is a walk in the park. He has a specialised delivery for Simon to carry out, and Simon agrees to do it, despite knowing that it's probably drugs and doesn't really seem to care. Meanwhile, Imran goes to see Leanne, curious to know when she'll be back to work. They're really needing her now that Daniel is off to teach in school. Leanne isn't ready and can't think when she will be, so she quits. Simon on the bike is meeting Monique in a car. He has a package for her and wants paid, but she, being the shiftiest person in the world, wants to check the quality first. He's unsure, but she makes out like he's a novice, so he gives her the package, and Monique predictably drives off, running over Simon's bike's front wheel in the process. "Oh, pig's tits," says Simon. And back at the chippy, Jacob is not happy with the bike or the fact that the drop didn't work. He's furious that a simple exchange didn't go according to plan, and now they owe Mr. Big $1,000. There'll be consequences to this, and Daniel, from his vantage point, sees this and seems to hear the exchange. So the two of them meet at speed dial, Daniel wanting to know what the exchange was about, and Simon explains, but this whole thing is going to cost a fortune to fix, getting this bike replaced and stuff. And Daniel's advice is to tell his parents. The scales fall off Simon's eyes at this enlightenment, and he nods approvingly. So Simon goes home and is about to tell Leanne about the bike stuff when she tells him about the Imran stuff. She can't go back to work, but thank God we've got your chippy wage, eh? Yikes. Simon skips Peter and goes to see Nick at the factory, even though Simon doesn't work at the factory. Nick is on the phone berating a customer for not paying up and explaining how little sympathy he has for fucking freeloaders. Then he gets a call from Natasha. And once that's done, Simon asks when Nick is moving back, and apparently it's all been pushed because Natasha is sticking around in that London for a little bit longer. Great, says Simon, and he leaves. And then we see Jacob meeting up in an alley with this Monique character. The whole thing was a scam, and then Jacob tells Simon that he has to work for free until his debt's paid off. Wicked, says Simon. And later, he lies to Daniel and tells him everything has been fixed because Leanne's going to pay it all off.
No, the whole delivery thing, Dev had just started it. Dev had just started this. And yet Jacob acts like he's been working there forever and like he knows the boss better than...
And we never see who the manager is of the chippy.
Simon does? Because there's some confusion where Simon says to him, "What, Dev?" And he's like, no, this other guy. And it's like, this could be very easily solved by Simon actually going inside and talking to his actual boss about these things.
He never does.
At
home, Jacob calls Simon. He has another job for him to deliver drugs to someone called Mooey. Simon, who recently couldn't be trusted with his own bike, with Jacob's brother's bike, or with a big bag of drugs, is apparently trusted by Jacob to keep a cache of drugs in his backpack. He wants a couple of grams, so Simon has to fetch it out of his backpack. And Leanne briefly comes in, interested to know who was calling, and then goes back to bed as Simon heads out to make sure that this movie character is high as fuck come the weekend. And that is how we end this week's episodes.
And see, this is my concern that Leon's going to lose both of her boys.
I was a little surprised at how quickly Simon went down this path.
Right. Yeah, me too. Me too. And how seemingly naive he is when enough has happened in his life at this point where you would think he wouldn't be as naive as he is.
He's been this naive character before.
Right.
But I think you're right. I think in this situation, what Simon would have done with Monique in the car is said, well, if you don't pay me, I'm going to fuck off.
Right. That's what, yeah. And the fact that he leaves his bike somehow in the middle of the road
yeah.
in front of her car doesn't make any sense either.
No.
Except plot.
Well, sure.
And I don't understand about his bike because he had it. He's talking to this guy and then he turns around and it's gone. How did somebody steal his bike with him standing right there?
It was David Blaine, I think.
It's kind of sad that Nick is the best parent Simon has right now.
I'd like the fact...
And I understand that Nick is kind of distracted by, you know, Sam and other things, but I was kind of surprised, especially since he kept saying, no, wait, I'll be with you in a second. No, stay.
Mm-hmm.
That he let Simon go so quickly.
Yeah.
I was really kind of surprised by that. I mean, Leanne and Peter, let's face it, are not winning any prizes for Parents of the Year for this poor kid.
Not at the moment. Nick with the phone calls thing is just showing Simon how busy he is, basically.
Right.
It's important for Simon to see how busy he is because then Simon can't go to him because he's so busy.
Right. But Nick, being Nick, would have made time for him.
Yeah, you should know that.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled that Simon's got a story of his own going on.
This is good.
This is again going that the kids are doing all right here.
The kids are all right. And the fact that, you know, Kelly the Chin is still involved as well.
Yep. I'm really liking her character. She has
She's grown on me.
Little zingers.
Yeah.
That she delivers every...
Still really distracted by her eyebrow.
The eyebrow thing, I don't know. I don't know what that is. I think it's a
scar.
Is it? Because I've talked about my eyebrow scar in the past.
Right.
I don't know if that's cosmetic or... It is distracting, but I think she suits it. Which is weird, I know. I would just prefer Simon to be a bit more ballsy here, but then when he does get caught up, he tends to put the people that he's caught up with on pedestals. Mm-hmm. And I think he's doing that a little bit with Jacob, like he did it in the past with who was it that knocked up?
Amy.
Oh, Chris, I can't
Irish
remember.
Tina's son.
Tyler. When those two were Tyler's gang, remember the gang?
Yeah.
Even though he's got kind of sass and attitude himself, he becomes subservient to others a little. So maybe it is a bit in keeping that he becomes this...
Right, but we thought that he outgrew it with the whole Tyler thing, especially now that he's kind of man of the house and needs to be responsible and stuff.
A role which he's fallen into very, very well.
And also considering how he kind of is concerned about his mother and how many sleeping pills she's been taking and stuff. You know, for him to just slip so easily into drug dealing after watching his mother overdose on sleeping pills.
Right.
It's kind of, and the fact that his father is an alcoholic who's going to die of alcoholism.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, it's funny that out of all of the adults in his life, the only one who seems to be taking an interest right now is Daniel. When when your Uncle Daniel is the only one who's paying attention to you.
But still not missing the opportunity to give him a hard time about eating poppadoms and drinking water.
Right. Yeah, that was really kind of fucked up there, Daniel.
Which I think would be free. You can't get charged for tap water.
No.
And those poppadoms, they come with anything, don't they? I think he's probably getting them for free. Or go to the chippy that you work at.
Well, maybe he's kind of sick of chips. Because he gets them free at the end of the night.
Simon, he's never sick of chips.
Well, maybe he is. Maybe he's worried about his girlish figure. Not that pompadoms would help that, but...
Pompadoms.
Anyway. Yeah, they're doing a good job, I think, of creating a foundation of this next generation of characters for the street. Yep. I think they're doing a really good job with that.
Yep.
That the storylines are becoming a bit more progressive. They're becoming a bit more interesting. They're not falling into tropes.
They're more grown-up stories.
Right. Yeah. You know, whereas, like, I think maybe one of the stories that started it all, the whole Amy pregnancy thing, did kind of follow some of a very special story about teenage pregnancy lines.
Right.
I think at this point they've really stepped up and kind of are moving away from kind of what the stodginess that Coronation Street, as opposed to Hollyoaks and stuff, are is kind of known for as being kind of less progressive than the other soaps. I think they're slowly weaning their way out of that, and I applaud them for it.
Yep.
Did somebody score something? Celtic 2.
Celtic have scored again.
Motherwell. Is it Motherwell?
Is your mother well?
Is your mother well?
No, she's dead.
0.
My mum would laugh at that.
She totally would. I imagine somewhere out in the ether, she's laughing her head off as we speak, along with Christopher Plummer.
So that was a week that was Coronation Street.
Yay.
Despite the fact that we had a dead dad, a hugely depressed, bereaved mother, an unwilling drugs mule, prison blindness, a breakup of a long-standing relationship, I thought this week was a lot of fun.
Drug dealer. He was not a mule. He's not stuffing them up his arse and trying to carry them into the country.
I thought it was a lot of fun. Despite all that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was not a bad week.
Your moment of the week? I thought Friday in particular was written very, very well.
Nina's Pizza with Alans.
We had the little throwbacks to old characters and stuff. That was nice to hear their names getting mentioned and stuff. Sorry. I think it's Asha and Dev.
Oh yeah, Asha explaining to Dev that she doesn't like labels.
Right.
Yeah.
And the whole lesbians are still a thing, aren't they? Line was just brilliant. Dev, you can...
Honestly, with a character like Dev, it really could have gone either way. I was a little nervous that they were going to make him be like, no, this can't happen, and be a little traditional.
The progression of Dev throughout that scene to at the end when he's crying. Oh my God, that was just wonderfully done.
Kind of with relief that it's not ITV court. Right, because he goes in there like guns blazing, all aggressive. Like, who are you seeing? Where are you going?
Having learned your lesson kind of thing.
Right, yeah. And then for him to slowly for all of that to just slowly leave, all of that aggression to just slowly leave his body.
Whilst learning quite a bit about his daughter at the same time.
Yeah.
And Asha's deliverance of it very nonchalantly, but caring of her dad.
Right.
Not doing it to shock him or to embarrass him or to hurt him.
Right. She's not like, get with it, Dad.
Right.
You're
square.
You're so old.
Yeah. Is that it? That's either that or Mary's Muff adventure for me.
What the hell? We just had a blizzard yesterday. Go away, bird. Yeah. It's definitely something in that storyline, though. Yeah, it was either going to be that or Aadi with Evelyn, which was also hilarious and heartwarming at the same time. Mm-hmm. I really just love the Alihans now. They're my favorite thing.
I know, me too.
You know, the only thing that makes me sad is that Dev shaved. I really love that beard.
Get over it. That was ages ago. Yeah, let's do it. Asha and Dev having a little heart to heart. That's our
moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
Boring moment of the week.
It was a good week.
Is it Mooey's drug habit? Poor Mooey.
Is it Daniel yelling at Simon for eating tap water and pompadums?
Poppadoms.
That's what I said.
You said pompadums.
No, I said poppadoms. I didn't say pompadums. I said poppadoms.
You said poppadoms there, but I think you said pompadums before.
Well, you also thought I said Kenny when I obviously said Jenny. There's no Kenny character on this show.
I didn't dispute a Kenny Jenny thing. I disputed something else, but it wasn't that. I'll just leave them in. I was going to take them out, but made a big deal of it. So
anyway, yeah. I mean, I don't really want to spit on Simon's big story arc here, but some of that stuff with Jacob was just like so eye-rolly. Like, come on, Simon, you can't possibly be believing this shite.
Was that boring?
I think bits of it could be construed as boring because it went on so long. Jacob likes to talk.
He does.
You know, and some of the whole, well, you know, the big boss, see, he doesn't like it when his bikes get run over, see, sort of stuff. It was just, or when he was talking about how great that bike was and how expensive it was, that was kind of boring and kind of ridiculous.
Okay, Jacob talking about bikes. Wait a minute, what was it? See, last week it was Aadi talking about pianos, but this week it is Jacob talking about bikes. That's our
boring moment of the week.
A boring moment of the week.
Shall we wrap this one up
yes,
then?
Yes, please.
When was the last time you showed someone your etchings? And what was your defence in court? Let us know, please. We're the talkofthestreet@gmail.com, which is also our address on Skype for voicemail. And on PayPal, if you want to chuck a couple of bucks into a virtual tip jar, we're at Corey Podcast
please.
On Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. Please check out our merch store and YouTube channel, links to which you can find on our Twitter bio or on the other stuff page of the Talk of the Street.
Or if you want to complain about me being a drama queen, please. We'd like to hear more of that.
And if you're so inclined, don't encourage people. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. And we will be back next week. Just make sure they're 5 stars. Talk of the Street.
Give us a 5-star review and then complain about me. I love it.
Bye.
Bye.